What's up everyone, this is Rasmus Bang from Bang Insights. Today I'd like to talk a bit about big data, but just to flip the script a little bit, I'd like to talk not about when you should use big data, but more about when you should steer clear of it. Now we have a saying in Danish, where I come from, which goes something along the lines of using a cannon to kill a sparrow. And any Game of Thrones jokes notwithstanding, I think this translates to something along the lines of using a sledgehammer to crack a nut in English. So, first of all, we can probably spend a lot of time discussing and defining, well, what do we mean by big data? What am I actually thinking about here? And we might get back to that in a later video. Here I'm thinking specifically about the newer technologies which are used to store and process very large, diverse data volumes. So things from something like Hadoop or Amazon EMR or Microsoft Azure HD Insights compared to the more traditional data warehousing and BI tools. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that the big data solutions are amazing and I think they have huge potentials for changing the way businesses work. But having said that, they are also more immature and more complex than many of the older tools that we are used to working with. And I'd say that anyone who tries telling you differently has either forgotten what it was like to start out, or they're trying to sell you something. So what should you look for here? Well, first of all, I would look for what are the data types that you're looking at, what are the sources for the data. Because if you're looking at quote-unquote traditional structured data, so think about things coming from your ERP system, your CRM system, your SRM system, then there's a pretty good chance that this is something your BI platform is going to be able to handle without too much problems. The next one is the amount, the data volumes, because if the data that you're looking at processing more or less corresponds to what you're used to working with in a traditional data warehouse, then there might not necessarily be a case for using a big data solution here. And the final one, and for me this is by far the most important one, is the use cases. What is your customer or your business users actually planning on using this for? Because if this data is something that needs to go into a traditional BI report, dashboard, something like that, then there's not really necessarily a good case for not using a BI platform, especially if it's something that's only needed on a, let's say, a weekly basis or a daily basis or something like that. So you're probably thinking, but hold up, Rasmus, isn't this just the traditional 3 V's, volume, variety, velocity that we've talked about in the big data space for a long, long time? I'd say, well, yes, it is. It is that. That's very perceptive of you. But it's something that we tend to forget. And it's also something where whenever we see new technology, we sometimes have a tendency to run towards it. Now, I would recommend to you in the future, if you're at a crossroads wondering what to do, then I would say try and get a good understanding of your customers or your business users and get an understanding of what exactly is it that they need to do here. Because if you are in a situation where you're able to solve a particular use case for them using a more traditional BI tool or data warehouse, then there's a good chance that you'll save yourself and your company a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of hassle. And then you're probably all thinking, well, that's all very fine, but when should I use a big data solution? And that's a very good question, and I promise you I'll get back to that in the next video. So with that cliffhanger, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. I'd also like to thank everyone who gave feedback and comments on the first video I put up, especially the ones who gave some good advice on how I could improve the sound. Thank you all very much for that. I hope it's better now. Until next time, I'm Rasmus Bang from Bang Insights.